Kees Ayanle is 30 and from Somalia. She doesn't want to show her face, but she's committed to telling how she was driven from her home.
My husband was killed when I was at home with my children. Masked men came into our house. They raped me and beat me. I still have the scars from it. That's why I came here.
Kees is one of around 1,500 refugees evacuated by the United Nations from Libyan camps last autumn. They have endured war and many of them sexual violence. Every one of these women was deemed especially vulnerable by UN staff, who arranged for them to be flown out. They're now recovering in this shelter for women and children in Niger before being flown to Europe. Funding for the shelter comes from the EU. It's a prime example of legal migration without the pitfalls of a perilous Mediterranean crossing.
Once the refugees arrive here from detention in Libya, we provide them with immediate assistance, with protection. We have a team of psychologists working with them, so we have what we call a philosophy of care. Basically, we provide them with recreational activities, with counselling, we provide them with language classes to prepare them for resettlement.
Niger is a former French colony and one of the poorest countries in the world. It also has the world's highest birth rate. On average, women in Niger have 6 children. There's little infrastructure and economic output is low. The West African nation is Africa's main transit hub for refugees, and people smuggling is big business. The President of the European Parliament has come to assess the situation firsthand. Antonio Tajani says the EU aims to reverse the trend by providing shelters so refugees are not driven into the hands of smugglers.
We have to stop these groups that profit from the lives of Africans who die in the desert and in the sea. We have to stop them completely.
In order to help Niger support the refugees as they wait for resettlement in Europe, the EU is pumping money into the local economy. Most people, like those here in the capital, Niamey, live hand to mouth. This woman sells snacks for about 1 cent each, but not many people buy. These men sell tea on the street. Sometimes it's enough to buy a phone card. Despite rampant poverty, Niger's president says his country is ready to help. But long-term, it will need much more money from the EU.
It's important that we wage a tireless fight against poverty through public, but also through private investment.
Some of the refugees in the shelter here in the capital have been waiting more than a year to get to Europe. The UN has been sharply critical of some EU countries that want nothing to do with legal migration and refuse a refugee quota.
So it would help us if the process would move more quickly, which would mean that we could save more lives. We could bring more people from detention to Niger.
Kees is one of the few who have made it this far, and she, at least, will have an opportunity to start a new, peaceful life in Europe without having to put her fate in the hands of smugglers.